Every day, meet a book. Today, we are talking about mastering habits.
Hello, Habit Master. I am a book review blogger from the year 2025. Could you spare 2 minutes to participate in our interview section?
Sure, let's get started.
The first question, why do New Year's resolutions only last a few days before giving up? Is my willpower too weak?
It's not that your willpower is lacking, but rather that the method is incorrect.
The method is incorrect? Where is the mistake? Aren't we always told to endure and persevere?
You always want to make big changes, hoping to achieve everything in just one step.
Making a big change? To make a change, you must take strong action, right? Do small changes even have any effect?
Every day, strive to improve by 1%, and after a year, you can enhance your abilities by 37 times.
Wait a minute. Only 1% each day? Sounds too slow. Who can wait? Still 37 times. Can it really be like that? How can it be calculated like that?
That is the power of compound interest. When applied to habits, it seems small, but its power is extremely surprising. Compound interest applied to habits sounds interesting, but this is too trivial, easily leading to the feeling of doing it forever without seeing any results, then giving up. Therefore, failure comes from underestimating the power of these small things.
Okay, let's say that small change is important. But why does my will always give up at the most crucial moments? Clearly knowing what I need to do, yet not wanting to move at all. Why is that?
That's because you're trying to use willpower to fight against the entire system of habits. This outcome is obviously a failure.
Resist the system? What system? Does my body also have a system that confronts me?
That's the system of habits, an automatic mode set up by the brain to make everything more convenient.
Automatic mode, do you mean that my laziness and reluctance to do anything are because my brain is programmed that way?
Almost. To save energy, the brain prioritizes the least effortful behaviors.
Oh my God, my brain really knows how to save. So, where did you just say my method was wrong? Besides always thinking about doing great things, is there any other pitfall?
You focus too much on what to do and forget who you will become.
Wait, who do you want to become? The teacher's words sounded a bit vague. I just want to lose weight and read books. Why bring up something so profound like who I am?
Because the root of habits does not lie in actions, but in self-awareness.
Self-awareness? Still not quite clear. Could you explain it in simpler terms?
For example, the fact that I can't wake up early to go jogging. How is this related to my self-perception? One person wants to quit smoking and another claims to be a non-smoker. Who do you think will succeed more easily?
Well, they are non-smokers because deep down they don't consider themselves addicts.
That's right. So the key to changing behavior is to first change your self-perception. Who do you think you are?
What you mean is that if I want to create a habit of exercising, I can't just think about checking in at the gym. But I need to believe from within that I am someone who always maintains a regular workout routine.
Behavior is merely an external manifestation of your self-awareness.
Wow, this perspective is really fresh. It turns out that my previous failures were because I only focused on actions without addressing the root cause, without thinking about changing myself first.
Exactly.
I'm starting to understand, but I still feel something is vague. So how can we turn this self-awareness into reality? Or do you expect me to stand in front of the mirror every day, chanting slogans?
Start with the smallest victories, using specific actions to accumulate evidence for yourself.
Small victories. Back to that 1% every day again.
For example, today, even if you only managed to do one push-up, it would still be considered a vote for the title of fitness enthusiast. Every action you take is a vote for the person you want to become.
I really like this way of comparing through voting by action. It's very easy to understand and very vivid. So how are habits formed? You mentioned the brain circuits. What does that mean?
First is the signal that stimulates desire. Then we respond to the signal. Finally, receive the reward. This process consists of 4 steps: cue, craving, response, and reward.
However, what if the reward comes too quickly? Can you be more specific? For example, bad habits like scrolling through your phone?
Every time the phone screen lights up, I feel the urge to check for new messages. Holding the phone, unlocking it, scrolling through the new messages, and then feeling satisfied.
Oh, it's really a reenactment of my daily life. So good or bad habits all follow this process?
That's right. The brain confirms that this circuit only needs to meet the conditions to run. It doesn't distinguish between good and bad at all.
Got it. So to break bad habits or form good ones, we need to start with those 4 stages, right?
That's right. Break the old circuit and build a new circuit.
How to break and how to build. Surely your book has specific instructions, right? Share it right away.
The first step is to make the cue for the bad habit less recognizable and make the cue related to the good habit clearer.
Got it, but this sounds a bit abstract. Is there a more practical example? For example, I often can't resist scrolling through short videos in the evening. How can I make this signal less noticeable?
You can put your phone in another room to charge, increasing the difficulty and the barrier when you want to get it.
Put it in the next room? It sounds feasible, but this method is too simple. If there's an urgent need to use the phone, what then? Is there a smarter way?
Try redesigning your surroundings. Often, this is much more effective than just relying on willpower.
Is it about the environment again? Why do you keep emphasizing the environment like that? Is the impact of the environment greater than one's own determination?
I don't believe that if I am truly determined, any environment can defeat me. The environment is like an invisible hand. It silently guides your behavior.
How much does this guideline affect? Give me a rough estimate. Don't just say it has a big impact.
In some cases, the environment determines about 30% to 50% of your behavioral choices.
Oh my God, the highest it can go is half? Really? What use is personal effort? Just move to a better environment. Sounds too negative, doesn't it?
It's not negative at all. The point here is that you can completely design a more beneficial environment for yourself.
Designing that environment yourself, huh? For example, if you want to read more books, place them where they are most accessible and hide your phone, right?
That's right. Let reminders of good habits appear all around you.
All right, I temporarily accept this idea. At least a reasonable environmental design is more trustworthy than just enduring. So what about the second step? Where does inspiration come from? There are good habits, such as learning new knowledge, which are inherently unappealing and always dry. How can we stimulate the desire to make them more interesting?
Connect it with the things you already love.
Reconnecting with each other, huh? Sounds good.
That's right. This is what is called temptation pairing, as I mentioned in the book. For example, you could set a rule that you can only watch your favorite movie when you're running on the treadmill.
This trick is cruel. Tying likes and dislikes together like that. Is it really okay? Afraid that I might get distracted.
Just try it, because desire can be guided and nurtured. I've noted down this tempting pairing method.
Sounds interesting. So the third step is feedback, right?
It is practical action.
But how can we make the actions easier to implement?
Sometimes it's simply because we are lazy and don't want to move at all. Therefore, make the action extremely simple. Lower the barriers to get started.
Lowering barriers is like being easygoing.
For example, your goal is to do 100 push-ups. To make it simpler, you only need to do it once. It sounds like a joke, doesn't it? But the important effect is that you start acting.
How about applying the 2-minute rule?
This principle means that everything you do should only take 2 minutes.
Is it true that doing this will stop it right from the beginning?
No way! With any new habit you want to build, first simplify the starting step so that it can be completed within 2 minutes. For example, do you want to develop a reading habit? Start by picking up the book and reading 1 page. Or even the goal is simply to take the book off the shelf. Just taking the book out is already considered completing the task.
Teacher, you're teaching habits. Are you teaching how to deceive oneself? What is the difference between this and doing nothing at all?
The difference here is very significant. You have completed the hardest step, the startup. You've started, which means you're on your way. That's right. It sounds reasonable. The most important thing is to overcome the psychological barrier from 0 to 1, just like getting the wheel to roll a little at first. In the initial stage of habit formation, the frequency of consistent completion is more important than the quantity or time spent on each instance. Plant the seeds of the habit first. Frequency is the key factor. The 2-minute rule may seem counterintuitive, but it really seems to work for my difficulty in getting started.
And the final step. What about the reward? how to feel satisfied right when you practice good habits.
Many of the real rewards of good habits only appear after a long time, but at the beginning, you don't feel anything. Therefore, create immediate satisfaction by finding a small, direct reward. For example, after finishing a lap, treat yourself to a nice meal.
But is this method okay? Isn't eating again ruining the effort we just put in?
The purpose of the reward is to reinforce positive behavior and appropriate self-identification without harming long-term goals.
Instead, you could try looking in the mirror to see the changes in your body after working out, or use a workout app to mark completed goals, feeling the sense of achievement from days of perseverance.
That's right, or more simply, prepare a habit tracker board, and when you complete a task, mark it with a tick or a cross. This progress is visually displayed and is itself a powerful reward.
The habit tracking board with its marking might seem a bit childish, but this method is truly addictive, much like the feeling of collecting achievements in games. Each time a task is completed, it brings a special joy.
Exactly. This is taking advantage of the brain's tendency to enjoy completing tasks and seeing progress. The past has proven that if you make the cue clearer, make the habit more attractive, make the action easier to perform, and make the reward more satisfying, according to these 4 principles, then building a habit will surely be effective. You have clearly and thoroughly dissected the fundamental rules of habit formation. This is indeed a series of interconnected activities. Behavior change is essentially a whole science.
The science of behavior change, right? So let me ask a truly heart-wrenching question. Not a few people, including myself, often start with a lot of motivation, feeling that everything is going smoothly. But after a while, the progress stagnates, as if getting stuck in a deadlock. What on earth is happening?
This feeling can easily demoralize people. This is the stabilization phase in the process of habit development. Progress is never a straight line. It often resembles climbing stairs, with periods where we need to slow down to adjust. The stabilization phase means that even though we continue to make efforts, in the short term, progress is not clearly visible.
So what should we do now?
Many people give up at this very moment, thinking that all their efforts are in vain. But this is often the stage of accumulating the greatest potential, and a breakthrough might be very close to us.
Accumulating potential, huh?
Just like the rule of the bamboo tree. In the first few years, bamboo grows very slowly because it is focusing on rooting deeply underground. Even though we haven't seen the changes below, it doesn't mean everything is stagnant.
This requires a very strong belief. Can we stand firm just by relying on a small will?
Focus on the process, not just fixating on the result. At the same time, it is necessary to regularly monitor and record your actions.
Regular monitoring? Back to marking or recording daily again, huh? I mean, realizing that every day I still continue to maintain the habit even though I haven't seen significant results. But this regular recording is enough to create motivation to keep persevering.
That's right. You need timely feedback to prove that you are still on the right track.
Feedback to ensure we don't get lost anymore, right? I understand, but there's still one more question. Regarding difficulty, is it true that the harder a habit is to maintain, the more it demonstrates one's level of sophistication? It just feels like habits that are too easy aren't worth anything.
But in reality, not everything difficult is good. The most suitable level of difficulty for a habit is the level that requires you to make a little effort, just touching the limits of your abilities while still being achievable.
So how can we determine this standard?
If it's too easy, you'll feel bored. If it's too difficult, you'll easily get discouraged and give up.
So, how do we balance between these two extremes?
Try to explore the boundaries of your own abilities, where you feel a bit of challenge, but with a little more effort, you can accomplish it.
The boundary of this ability sounds very vague. How can one accurately determine if they are at the right level of difficulty? Is there a specific way to evaluate?
The answer lies in continuous experimentation and adjustment. If you keep failing repeatedly, it means that level is too difficult and needs to be reduced. If you find everything too easy or without any challenge, increase the difficulty a bit. Adjust flexibly according to the situation.
Sounds like leveling up in a game. You can't stay in the starting village forever, but you also can't jump straight into facing the final boss right from the beginning.
Yes, you can think that way. The goal is to always maintain a state of just enough motivation while feeling in control of the situation, a state that people call flow state.
Speaking of which, it's interesting. After today's conversation with you, it feels like the issue of habits has been peeled layer by layer from the inside out, especially the perspective on shaping personal identity. I truly feel like my horizons have been broadened, an extremely profound experience.
The core question remains, what kind of person do you want to become, right?
Before, I only thought about what I should do and what goals I should achieve. But now I understand. Perhaps first I need to ask myself, what kind of person do I want to become? Then let each seemingly insignificant small habit become a building block for that ideal image.
Indeed, this idea is truly wonderful. That's exactly it.
But can an identity shaped by those habits be maintained for a lifetime? Once good habits are formed, will everything go smoothly without any worries?
Actually, habits need to be maintained continuously. Identity also needs to be reinforced and refined through continuous actions. Everything requires persistent care.
Got it. It's true that in life, nothing is ever done and settled forever. Just like trained muscles, if completely neglected, they will gradually atrophy over time.
That's right. This is a journey that requires continuous investment, an ongoing process of shaping and development.
Got it. Back to the power of small aguettes, improving 1% each day. After a year, it will improve 37 times. But there are still people who think this is too slow, unable to keep up with the fast pace of modern society, and they say they can't wait. What would you say to address that common anxiety?
Rome wasn't built in a day. All remarkable achievements are essentially the result of small, often unnoticed habits accumulated over time.
Long-term accumulation, could it be implying that we live in an era too easily captivated by the dazzling success stories that flash by and inadvertently overlook the truly decisive factors?
It is the daily efforts, repeated over time, that truly bring success. Success is often not the result of a decisive moment, but the inevitable consequence of daily habits. It may sound like a blow to one's ego, but at the same time, it is very inspiring. My current state of life, whether good or bad, is essentially the sum of countless small habits accumulated in the past. Simply put, the person you are today is a mirror reflecting the system of habits you have built in the past. Back to the topic of habit systematization. If I had to summarize the core message of this book in one sentence, it would be, focus on building a system of habits rather than being overly fixated on the end goals. Don't just tirelessly chase after the destination, but strive to become the version of yourself you have always longed for.
Truly, this saying is very profound. I need time to digest all the meaning it brings. The amount of information is so vast that it feels like my brain can't keep up. Today was truly a day filled with valuable lessons, as if I were enlightened. Thank you for your valuable insights, Habit Teacher. I have received so much from you. Thank you beyond words.